Soundgarden. Christopher John Cornell, born Christopher John Boyle, to an Irish Catholic father and Jewish mother. Born July 20th, 1964, in Seattle, Washington. Passed away May 18th, 2017, at the age of 52 in Detroit, Michigan. Suicide by hanging.
What is the address of the emergency?
1777 3rd Street, the MGM Casino. I have a non-responsive guest in a hotel. It's going to be a 50-year-old male inside of room 1136.
Played in the band Soundgarden, Audio Slave, and Temple of the Dog, having 4 studio albums and having a 4-octave range, baritone to soaring highs. Ranked among Rolling Stone's greatest singers of all time in 2010. 3 Grammy wins and 18 nominations. Selling 30 million plus records worldwide. Black Hole Sun, Soundgarden's biggest hit. Soundgarden was the first grunge band signed to a major label. He had lifelong depression, panic disorders, and agoraphobia. Addicted to alcohol, drugs, PCP, Oxycontin in his youth, and got sober in 2005 until 2017. In 2002, he went to rehab after Audio Slave's debut. Soundgarden's last show concert with Cornell was at Fox Theater Detroit. His final performance song was a haunting cover of Led Zeppelin's In My Time of Dying. Cornell appeared engaged and energetic during the performance. However, the events that unfolded in his hotel room later that night revealed a much darker reality. Investigative documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act provided the most detailed account of Cornell's final hours. These records include police reports, 911 call, and the autopsy findings, which collectively painted a clear picture of the tragedy. Cornell returned to his suite at the MGM Grand Detroit, room 1136, after the concert. At approximately 11:30 p.m., he spoke to his wife, Vicky Cornell, who was in Los Angeles at the time. During their conversation, Vicky became alarmed at Cornell's slurring speech and his behavior. He reportedly mentioned taking extra Advil, a prescription anti-anxiety medication. Concerned, Vicky contacted Cornell's bodyguard, Martin Kurtzton, and asked him to check on her husband. He rushed to Cornell's suite but found the door locked from the inside. After multiple attempts to gain entry, Kurtzton kicked open the main door and then found his way through the interior bedroom door. Upon entering the bathroom, Kurtzton discovered Cornell unresponsive on the floor with a red exercise band wrapped around his neck. The band was looped over the top of the bathroom door, suggesting Cornell had attempted to hang himself. Immediately loosening the band and began CPR, but Cornell showed no sign of life. The Wayne County Medical Examiner officer later ruled Cornell's death a suicide by hanging. The autopsy report noted that Cornell was found partially suspended by the exercise band and injuries consistent with self-inflicted asphyxiation with blood pooling around his mouth from asphyxiation trauma. The autopsy's findings: cause, suicide by hanging. Drugs in his system: therapeutic medicine of Ativan. No alcohol or illegal substances were found in his body. His widow, Vicky Cornell, blamed Ativan for impairing his judgment. There was a 2018 lawsuit against the doctor for overprescribing and was settled in 2021.
And that can be very hard, I think. I mean, in terms of warning signs, what do you tell people to watch out for or recommend people watch out for?
Right. Well, I think we're hearing about so much of it, and how it actually plays out in real life can be very, very cloaked. So we can look at the list of warning signs, and it's really important to get educated about that. It absolutely is. But then understand that the loved ones in your life are not going to hand that to you on a platter. They're going to be indicating it in very subtle ways.
We're going to put some of those warning signs, I think, on the screen. Feeling hopeless, like a burden to others, depression, anxiety, lack of interest, withdrawing, easily angered or agitated, increased drinking or substance use.
Let me share something about my mother's suicide. I didn't know my mother was suicide. None of us kids knew that she was suicidal. But my grandparents did, my aunt did, and they had encouraged her to get help, et cetera, and she apparently, in the last year of her life, had threatened this a lot, and the family had done everything that they could, and she wouldn't take any of the advice, and she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do. And one day, she went over to my aunt's house, and my aunt was very frustrated with my mother. And she said, my mother said, "You know, Joanne, I'm just going to do it." And my aunt looked at my mother and said, "You know what, Mary? Then just do it." Now, that's not what her advice was. Her advice the whole time was seek help, get help. We're here for you, but you have to change your life. She was tired of hearing what she thought was an empty threat just to, gain sympathy or whatever. She didn't understand it. My aunt carried that around for decades after my mother died, because my mother committed suicide about, I think it was 5 days later, 4 or 5 days later. And my aunt immediately thought, "Oh my gosh," and I told her to do it. No, sweetheart, you didn't. You didn't.
His funeral was at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, May 26, 2017. Chester Bennington sang Hallelujah. Later died by suicide on Cornell's birthday, July 20th, 2017. The Space Needle went dark in his honor, and they erected a statue in his honor in 2018 at the Seattle Center. His last words on stage were, "Stay with me, Detroit." His final tweet, "Detroit finally back to Rock City." Connections to other artists' suicides. Died on the 37th anniversary of the band Joy Division. Joy Division's lead singer, Ian Curtis, suicide May 18th. Close friend Chris Burnington of Linkin Park died by suicide on Cornell's birthday, July 20th, 2017. There was a 550% increase in streams after his death. His friend, Chester Bennington's death, July 20th, 2017. The Linkin Park vocalist died by suicide by hanging on what would have been Chris Cornell's 53rd birthday. Bennington was a close friend of Cornell and performed Hallelujah at Cornell's memorial service. Other interesting facts: a friend of all of them was Anthony Bourdain. Anthony Bourdain's death, June 8, 2018. Celebrity chef and TV host died by suicide by hanging in France. Bourdain was a friend to both Cornell and Bennington, fueling conspiracy theories about a Hollywood death curse, but authorities confirmed his death as a suicide with no foul play. Bourdain had just recently gotten married, and information came out that his wife was having an affair. Days later, he committed suicide. And there you have it. Thank you ever so kindly for joining me here at Headstone Chronicles. Have any one of you seen Soundgarden live with Cornell? Have any of you seen Linkin Park live with Chester Bennington? If so, we'd love to hear it. Tell us about it in the comments below. Don't forget to do thumbs up, subscribe, press the little bell icon, and do one extra thing. Beneath the video, there's a button that says share. Would you share the video? Would you do that? Could you pass the video on? I would appreciate it. If you wish to support this channel, in the description area below, we do have a tip jar, and I thank you in advance. Again, thank you for joining me, and allow me to play you out.